Good morning and welcome to the second episode of the Arctic Crafts podcast. Today is Friday, September 20th, and you can find me on Ravelry as Arctic Crafts 65, on Facebook as Arctic Crafts by Bente, on Instagram as Arctic Crafts, and my Etsy shop is called Arctic Crafts by Bente. And let's just first address the elephant in the room, in case you were wondering. I went to the hospital yesterday and removed a couple of lesions on my face. And I decided to podcast anyway with band-aids on my face, just to remind everybody that if something new shows up on your skin, get it checked out. It could be something that it's better to remove. And with that out of the way, let's start with FOs, because I actually have some. We can start with a new base. I decided to add another worsted to my shop. I already had a worsted base, but I decided to add a new one, and it's really soft. My other worsted is also soft, but not as soft as this. I needed a sample because this is a new base, and I decided to knit the Vardon hat by Rye Flower Knits. It's the colorway is Virginia Tobacco, and this hat, I'm not sure it stays a sample because it's really soft and I love the colors. As you can see, it looks intricate, this cable, but it's really easy. It's not difficult at all. And the rest of the hat has this really cool linen stitch. So I love this hat, and I might actually be using this myself. So that's one FO. And then I have been knitting on this pair of socks for some time. And because it's on, I normally knit my socks with 64 stitches and 2.25 millimeter needles. This pair I had to knit with 2 millimeter needles because it's a light fingering, and I had to do 72 stitches on 2 millimeter needles. It's not that much more stitches or anything, but they took a lot of time. The pattern is Heel Toe Dozy Doe by the Crazy Sock Lady, and it's really fun on a self-striping, as you can see, because you have these chevrons. I think she actually designed the pattern for self-striping. And the yarn is from a German dyer that calls herself Stricky Stracky. And it's the tweed sock yarn. You can see all these fun little neps in the yarn. And the colorway is Betty. That's those two. And I have a lot of whips. Let's start with the one I was knitting on when I went to the hospital yesterday, because I had to go to the local hospital in this town. Didn't have a specialist that could remove this to avoid scarring, because it's in my face. They wanted to use a doctor that was really good at this. So hopefully there won't be any scarring. The thing is, I had to go by plane to get to that other hospital. It's only half an hour by plane, but it's 6 hours with car if you drive there. So thankfully, that's Norwegian health service for you. The doctor got the test results last Friday, and yesterday, 6 days later, I went to the hospital to remove them, and I didn't pay for anything, not even the plane. So okay, we pay about 30% taxes, but it's nice to have free access to everything that has something to do with your health. And yesterday I was knitting on this. The bag is from Busy Pottering, and this bag I got in a swap. She wanted some of my yarn, I wanted one of her bags, so we swapped. I really love it, and it's perfect this time of year because I feel like it's autumn, and I love these foxes. And what I'm knitting, hopefully I have the pattern down in this bag. I have the pattern over here. I have to stretch a bit. I'm knitting the Pixie Dust by Tamy Gore, because I also got the sport weight, new base sport weight in the shop, so I needed a sample in that as well, and I decided to knit the Pixie Dust shawl. And I'm using, it's a 4mm needle, and the colorways are, this one is Peony, and the green one is Guacamole, and the top one, I can show you the skeins easier to see. It's called Nebula. I really love this colorway, so I decided I had to use it in the shawl. And the other two, this is Peony, it's a soft pink, and this Guacamole, it's blowing out in the camera. It's much more neon-y or more intense than it looks like in the camera. But if you go to my shop, you can see what it really looks like. And I of course have a black cat. It's getting to be Halloween, so I figured I had to have a black cat. This is from Hannah at the Corner of Craft, and I love her beaded stitch markers. So that one I was knitting on yesterday. I had one problem though. I'm out of this Peony, and I'm supposed to finish off the shawl with a few rows of this color, the first color. And I had a sneaking suspicion that I would run out. I was playing Yarn Chicken and I didn't have enough, so I had to start Guacamole, the green one, a few rows early. And the reason why I probably ran out is the pattern calls for, let's see, the pattern calls for 325 yards, and I had 328. And I'm a loose knitter, so that's probably the main reason. And I almost forgot, I have a shawl behind me. This shawl you've probably seen, because lots of people have knit this shawl. It's the Golden Hour by Andrea Mowry, and finally it's starting to be the season for this kind of shawl, because it's a worsted shawl, so it's really heavy and really warm. I've knit it it's knit in Cascade 220, and the colorways are chocolate. This dark brown is called chocolate, and this one is soft pink, and this light brown one is called praline. And I really love this shawl, and it was so much fun to knit because it changes up all the time, and I easily get bored when I'm knitting. And that's my first whip, and I have lots of socks on the needles. We'll start with this pair. These are for my mother because she loves cotton socks. And one of my favorite, oh, I'm losing some stitches. One of my favorite commercial sock yarns are Grindle Hot Socks. And then I discovered that they have a cotton wool blend called Palma. And I'm knitting my mother socks out of this yarn. And the pattern is the Prairie socks by K. Jones. Because just vanilla socks can be a bit boring, so I like having a pattern that's easy to memorize, but it breaks it up a bit. I also have another small whip in this bag, by the way, Tangled Stitch Shop. I have a lot of Tangled Stitch bags, and this is really cute with all the alpacas, or maybe it's llamas, they look alike to me. Last year I bought some Halloween, it's called Strange Brew. It's by Turtle Pearl. And the thing about her is that when you buy self-strapping sock yarn from her, you get two skeins, two 50-gram skeins that are identical. So when you knit socks out of it, you knit both, your socks will be identical. And I had leftovers. I knit my youngest son's socks with this yarn last year for Halloween. And I decided to knit myself fingerless mitts with the leftovers. And this is what the yarn looks like, knit up. It's really fun. So I'm knitting myself fingerless mitts. And as you can see, I'm not fussy about what I knit my socks or fingerless mitts on. On these I'm using a 9mm. That's a Sing. Not 9mm, 9 inches. It's a 2.25, 9 inches circular. And on my mother's socks I was using DPNs. But I never use magic loop. I tried using magic loop. I sometimes use the Addi Flexi Flips or Crazy Trio as they're called in Europe. But I never ever use magic loop. And I have another bag. This is one of my favorite bags because I love the color and I love sugar skulls. This one is from Gingersnap. You can see your label, Gingersnap. It's even got a skull progress keeper on the zipper, as you can see, if it will focus. That's now I realize why all podcasters are talking about focusing. And of course in this bag it has to be a Halloween sock. And this is from Nicole C Mendez. And she has a lot of, and these are from my husband, so, and he didn't want something really colorful. So, and this is a sport weight. And when I'm knitting socks for my husband, I actually prefer sport weight because I can knit socks for him with 64 stitches, the same as I use for myself because I'm using 2.5 needles. And the colorway is Shrieking Shack. And that's a Harry Potter reference, I think. Shrieking Shack. So that's that one. I think those are my active whips. I forgot something the last time. I haven't knit anything on my son's sweater, but I forgot to tell you what yarn I was using. And the yarn is called Drops Nepal. Oh, wait a minute, I have another whip. You remember this from last time. It's in my Tangle Stitch bag. And it's the Bluebell Shawl by Rye Flower Knits. I'm knitting this in a lace weight Yak Merino Silk blend. It's really soft. And the colorway actually looks like it looks on the camera. It's a beautiful teal. And the last time, you can tell by where I was because I have a progress keeper. And that's where I was the last time I podcasted. And as you can see, I've reached the fun part. So now I'm knitting lace. And that really is the fun part. I think this shawl is going to be beautiful now when I'm finished with it. Because it's really light and it's going to be big, so I can have it loads of times around my neck. So I really look forward to having that one done. But because I have more samples in it and this isn't in my yarn, it's kind of hibernating. And I have to focus when I knit it, so I couldn't knit all that yesterday when I was in the airport and in the hospital. So that's my whips. And I just have to check my show notes. I had a really big mail day yesterday, of course, because I wasn't at home. But my husband helped me and fetch everything, and the car was practically full. Mostly because one of the boxes was really big, because I got a big delivery from my yarn supplier yesterday. And I got some yarn from a shop, online shop called Hobby. And I really love the colors in this one. It kind of reminds me of, it's really autumny, and it's blowing out a bit in the camera. It's not this boring, it's a bit more colorful. And it's a sport weight, or it's a light sport. What does it say? It's 200 grams, 765 yards. So it's a heavy fingering light sport weight. And I plan to use this as the contrast color in the Colorworks sweater, because it's more than enough. So that's that, and because I'm not a yarn snob as such, and this is a wool acrylic mix. But it's about 50-50, so it's really nice and warm. And I also got my new yarn dyeing Bible. I bought one of these when I went to Spring into Wool in Leeds during Easter, and I decided to try one of these, and I'm addicted, because you have one page where you write down what base you're using, what weight you're using, where you got the yarn from, and the names of the different colors you're going to dye, and you have a note page with a grid, so you can, I sometimes draw the dye pot on this to mark where I put different colors. And I write down everything I do when I'm experimenting, because suddenly one day you have this gorgeous color and you can't remember how you did it. And when I decide that a color is good enough to be put into the repeatable colors, I decide to use it. I have this filing system that I use cards where I write every mix down on. By the way, the sport weight, the new sport weight, is added to my repeatables. So now you have 4 different bases you can order sweater quantities in. It's the worsted. Sorry, not the worsted. The worsted is not in the sweater quantities, not yet, anyway. We have the merino DK, and you have the merino fingering with nylon, merino fingering without nylon, and now the Poledale sport weight. That's a Poledale as well. And the merino nylon sock yarn is on its way out. I have loads in stock, but I'm not going to add to it, because I prefer the Poledale and the Corriedale for socks. So that's what I'm dyeing up now. And I tried one of my signature colors is Midnight Sun, and I tried and I've dyed that up on Poledale. And this is also blowing out a bit. It could be my shirt. I have a very loud shirt on. But this is Midnight Sun. It's a dark navy almost over in black, and it's in yellow, orange, and red for the Midnight Sun. And I have a pair of sample socks knit up in this yarn, so you can see what it looks like knit up. And as you can see, it almost self-stripes. It spirals up the sock. And what I've seen one, I can't remember her name, she knit a shawl in this colorway, a one skein shawl, and it was gorgeous. So I always thought of this as a sock yarn, but obviously you can use it for shawls. And I have a Corriedale skein here. No, that's another Poledale skein. That's my Vincent, by the way. That's a new colorway. And when you see the colors, you probably know what Vincent I'm talking about. It's of course Vincent van Gogh. And that's also the Poledale. And this is the Corriedale sock in Nebula. You know the colorway I use in the shawl. This is what that looks like in the skein. And I did some selfish dyeing the other day, just for me, because I have a colorway called Unicorn. What Unicorn? And the reason for that is that there are loads of colorways named something unicorn out there. And I dyed this experiment, and to me it just screamed unicorn. And I struggled for days to come up with something creative and nothing that no one else was using. And then it suddenly dawned on me, why not just call it unicorn? What unicorn? And I love this colorway. It doesn't show up as well in the camera, but it's a soft lilac-y purple with lots of speckles. I dyed up 4 skeins of this. You have to excuse him. That's the cat. His name is Severus Snape, and he's kind of talkative, and he wants to let me know that he's here. So if you hear strange sounds in the background, that's the cat. The other 2 cats are outside. And as I was saying, could you please shut up? As I was saying, I'm knitting a sweater in this. I'm knitting the On the Beach by Isabel Kramer. I've already knit one of those. I knit it without sleeves because I wanted to use it in the summer. And I'm not wearing knits today, you might realize, because the last time I got really hot. So today I'm not wearing knit. I'm a grown-up lady in her 50s, so sometimes I get really hot. And last but not least, because it's my birthday month, I get even older on the 29th. My good friend Sue in Canada sent me a package. I thought she was only sending me some yarn she was destashing, but she put some extras in. And maybe first of all I should tell you about the bag it's in, because this is also new and this also arrived this week. It's surprise from the Tangled Stitch. She had these gorgeous tote bags with a matching pouch, and I just had to have one. And now I can show you what's in this, because this is the stuff that Sue sent me. We'll start with the little things. They're in this pouch. Look at this. It's a cat measuring tape. How cute is that? And it's yellow, so I really can see it from far away. And she sent me these Halloween stitch markers, and I have a sneaking suspicion that Sue made these herself. And these are really fun. You have a ghost, and you have a witch's hat, a tombstone, and a pumpkin. And she also sent me a really sparkly cat's paw. And this is the cutest of them all. It's half a heart. And as you can see, there was 2 promise keepers on this, because the other half of the heart stayed with Sue. So that's really sweet. So I can think, when I use this, I can think of Sue having the other half. And then she sent me a bag made by her, because you can see the logo on the inside, the Tangled skein. Unfortunately, she doesn't sell bags anymore. She used to have an Etsy store, but she doesn't sell bags anymore. And I really love this. This is hysterical. It's an animal print in rainbow colors. And I love these bags. And it's really big. It's a sweater bag. And I think I'm going to move the shawl over to this bag after the podcast when I'm done recording, because the shawl is growing out of that bag. And she also knit me a sample. This is in the antique gold colorway, and for the life of me I can't remember what the pattern is, but she talked about it on her podcast. But again, I can't remember what it's called. It's the DK. It's my Falkland Merino DK in the colorway antique gold. And then we get to the yarn. This I knew about. Can you tell that I love neons? This is blowing out because this is neon, both of them. This is showing better than this because this is highlighter colors. And it's Fluormania from Regia, and this is Fluorotime from Filatura Lanarota. So I suppose that's from Italy. And those two, that's the D-Stash, and you have this one from Dragonfly Fibers. And this is DK, I think. Let's see. Yes, it's a 280 yards per 100 grams, so it's rather a sport. And this didn't have a label, but I love the colors. I think it's a 50 gram skein. And there was one more thing from Sue. There's a special brand of tea you get in Canada that I really love, but I can't get it online because they don't have an online store. And that's David's tea. And she sent me something called Stormy Night. I tried it last night, it was really good. I shouldn't drink black tea late at night because I have trouble sleeping. But there you go. It's chocolate, cinnamon, coconut and vanilla. And as it says, this drink is a real piece of work, all right. Hotter than an inferno and smoother than silk. It's good, almost too good. I couldn't taste the cinnamon, mind you. I could taste the coconut and the vanilla and the chocolate, but no cinnamon. So it wasn't hot as such. But it was really, really nice. And what more do I have? Do I have more acquisitions? I don't think so. But I have... No, that's it for acquisitions. It looked like such a great deal when I was writing the show notes. And I have some shop news. I have some alpaca, 100% pure alpaca from Peru in my shop. It's been a really slow seller because it's expensive. So I've decided not to do the alpaca anymore. So I'm getting rid of that. I'm going to the fair in the last weekend of October, Halloween weekend. I'm vending at a fair, local fair, and the alpaca that doesn't sell there will be put back in the Etsy shop at a discount, I think. But because it was expensive for me, I don't want to sell it with a loss, so I might not do a discount on it. And I have a lot of shawl duos in the shop that I really love. So hopefully I can sell them at the fair in Melbu, the last weekend of October. So that's the shop news. I'm perhaps not dying next week. I have a small update this weekend. I have sport weight. I have a skein of antique copper on sport weight, and I have 2 skeins of Poledale, Midnight Sun, and I have 2 skeins of antique silver on merino fine, and I have 2 different kinds of 100% merino fingering. I have one that's soft merino fine and one that's merino fine. The merino fine is a bit cheaper than the soft merino fine. I've knit sweaters with it, I've knit shawls with it, and it's a bit thinner than the soft merino, and I'm not sure what the difference between worsted and woolen spun is, but the fine merino is more woolly, if you know what I mean, than the soft merino fingering. But it's not scratchy. As I said, I knit a sweater in it, and after I soaked it, it was really, really soft. So that's next week, next Wednesday, we get somebody who is going to stay here from Wednesday till Sunday next week, and I dye in my kitchen and I dry the yarn in the bathroom. And when we have people staying, they may not appreciate the smell of wet sheep in the bathroom, So maybe next week there won't be an update. I'll probably do some admin and prepare for the fair. I know it's in the end of October, but it's my first fair, so I want to do it the right way. And I suddenly realize, after almost completing this podcast, that it looks like I've put makeup only on this eye. I assure you I haven't. But I have a black eye on this side, because when they gave me the local anesthesia for this, when they were removing this, he managed to hit a blood vessel. So I have a black eye on this side. So it looks like looks like I only have makeup on one eye. So this was it, I think. I haven't got a lot more to talk about. I just want to ask you to, if you like this, if you can live with my Norwegian accent, you please subscribe and like the video. As I was saying the last time, I'm planning a giveaway when I reach 100 subscribers. That might take some time. And I have a pattern giveaway this time. My good friend Melinda of Rye Flower Knits has offered a pattern giveaway. And I'm going to make a thread in my Ravelry group. You can find that by searching groups in Ravelry, the Arctic Crafts podcast, and you will find me right away. And I'm going to make a thread in the Ravelry group. And the prompt is, I'm not sure what I'm going to have the prompt be, but I know. The prompt is, tell me something you did, something really fun you did for Halloween. Doesn't have to be last year, it can be when you were a child, but something fun you did for Halloween, because Halloween is a new thing in Norway, and I want to kind of celebrate Halloween, because for me, the Celtic tradition, Samhain, is more my cup of tea, because it's more like the kind of a heathen thing. The Halloween thing is very American to me. In Norway, we celebrate All Hallows Eve. We go to the graveyards and we put up lights on the graves of loved ones, and that's kind of the Norwegian tradition. That's it. But the last few years, trick or treat has started in Norway. We called it knask eller knep, but that's kind of trick or treat in Norwegian. And I want some inspiration for how can I celebrate Halloween in a fun way. What decorations you use? Is there special food you like to eat Halloween? So everything fun about Halloween is the prompt. Then I'll use a random generator, and then I'll tell Melinda who's won, and then you can either go to her website or Ravelry to get your prize. And I'll give you 2 weeks for that. So I'm not drawing a winner, not for next podcast next Friday, but the Friday after that. And then I think I'm finished for this time. And I could also do a weather update, of course. That's kind of a thing. And it's a cloudy day. It's not cold enough for me yet. I want it to be cold so I can use my knitted sweaters. And kind of strange weather here in northern Norway, especially where we live at the coast. Fall has a tendency to be very short. It's just suddenly we get snow. So I'm enjoying fall while I can, you can say. And next Friday I hopefully don't have this anymore. Depends on how quickly it heals, but I decided to do a podcast anyway, because if I was going to postpone it until it didn't show anymore, I would probably have to wait at least 3 weeks or something. So thank you again for joining me today, and I'll see you next Friday. Goodbye.